first one I wanted to start off with, and I'm not even going to give my opinion on it straight away, because I was unaware of this until Mo said it in the group chat when he said, by the way, viewers, hit like buttons if you haven't done so yet, subscribe, etc. But Mo's telling me Bruno Fernandes wants to leave Man United. What's all this?
Yeah, this guy, bro, he's the worst captain ever. Someone told me that Sol Campbell was worse captain than him, and I'm like, listen, I can't remember how Sol Campbell was a captain, to be honest, but I guarantee you that he wasn't as bad as Bruno Fernandes. The guy, if you read the articles and if you read what he said in an interview, he said that they have to want me to stay. He's begging for the love of the fans, bro.
No. Okay, so I said I'd be quiet. Come on, carry on.
Did you? Isn't that what the article said?
Don't care what the article said.
They twisted his words, of course.
Let me ask you a question. I've got to jump in straight away. I said I wouldn't, but I will.
You couldn't help it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you want to be on the football terrace?
Mo?
Yeah, you. Do you want to be on the football terrace?
Yes, 100%.
But would you want to be on it if I didn't really like you and I told people I didn't really like what you said and I didn't really like you being on the shows? Would you really want to be on my channel helping to support it and grow it?
No, not really.
So Bruno Fernandes saying, I want to be here, but I want Man United to want me. What's wrong with that?
He's begging for the fans to love him. You have to show it on the pitch. Terry, it's that Terry, fans don't like you because you say so. You do stuff on the pitch to prove that the fans should like, bro. You know what I'm talking about. There is a difference between the owner of the club. Of course, if the owners, okay, let's establish something. There are differences between the fan base and the owners and the coach. If the owners and the coach don't want you, right, and the manager and the owners don't want you, that's when you leave. But for you to beg for the love of the fan, it's completely different. It wasn't, I don't know exactly which one he meant, but for the fans, you don't beg for the love from the fans. You don't. You show your effort on the pitch, right? You show how you're captain, and the fans like you. You don't ask the fans.
He's not asking. When he says he wants the club to keep him, he's talking about Man United as in the people that run the club. He didn't mean the fans.
Are you sure that he's talking about?
I will make you up. I'll make you a bet now. I bet you at £20,000, and if I'm right, I get your YouTube channel.
How would I bet?
Because I'm that sure. I will bet you £20,000.
You are sure that he said that?
No, I am
sure. How
would
this be proven, though? How would it be resolved?
I don't know.
This bet.
We ain't doing a poll.
It's like we're gonna ask Bruno what he meant exactly.
If he's saying I want the club to keep me, I mean, how would you interpret that, Dan? If one of your players said I'd want to stay at West Ham, but I want West Ham to want me to stay, would you think he's talking about the fans, or would you think he's talking about your club?
I think that sounds like he's talking about the club. He's talking about he wants more money. Like that sounds like, because you're the captain of the club, right? You've been given the armband. You start every game. So where is this idea that he's getting that he feels like the club don't want him, unless he's saying?
So it's come because in the interview they brought the subject up, because there's rumors and stories that everybody's up for sale barring Mainu, Garnacho, and Højlund. He's being asked a question by DAZN Portugal, by the way. So it's not a UK, it's in Portuguese. So you also got the translation element. They have just asked him whether or not he is going to leave, because the rumors are everybody could be leaving over the next few years. And what his actual words were, his biggest statement in the conversation was, my future at the moment, I feel both me and the club want to continue together. That's why I know he's talking about the club, because he's mentioned them already. He then went on to say, I'm not thinking about my future. If you want me to be very honest, if I have to think about not staying at Man United, it won't be until after the FA Cup final and the Euros. But prior to that, he said that I feel like both me and the club want to continue together. I feel like what's happened with this Bruno story is that he has said the club, I think, want to keep me. He has stated that I want to stay. He stated that he only wants to stay if the club wants him, because he wants it to be mutually agreeable. But he's also stated, so he hasn't said I want to leave. All he has said, and I'd love to hear someone who's Portuguese listen to it and reinterpret it for us, is, because it's probably been done through Google Translate, but all he has said is, if Man United don't want me and I have to leave, I'm not even considering that until after the Euros, which I don't think is I don't think it's this big story that people are making it out to be. When I saw you say it, and I went online, I saw United hand tweet, "Oh my God, if he leaves, I'm going to be in tears." I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what's happened?"
Yeah, I think the most important part.
Burger.
Forget what Bruno said, Terry. I think the most important part is the split in the fan base, bro. Yesterday, I think this story broke like yesterday evening or something like this, and I'm like, okay, half the fan base is like, yes, let's sell him, and the other ones are like, no, he's our captain, Bruno Fernandes. He is Kevin De Bruyne's equal. We cannot let him go. I'm exaggerating, of course. They didn't say that exactly, but this is how you feel. Yeah, but this is how you felt. Like a lot of people didn't like that he's about to leave. You know what I mean? Like, or that is even hinted. But the question for Man United fan base: do you think Bruno Fernandes should be your future captain with the revolution that is happening at the club, with a new manager, with arguably new players coming in? Do you want Bruno Fernandes to be the guy that leads the youngsters like Kobe Mainoo?
Okay,
my answer. Okay, this is my answer. Now I'm gonna give you my opinion. I think Bruno Fernandes is a very good player. He needs a manager with a very strong personality, because Bruno Fernandes is a good player. The fact a lot of people say Bruno Fernandes is a bad player, he's not. He's a good player. You give him the right players around him, he can produce a lot. There's a reason why the guy creates chances. There is a reason why the guy runs like a maniac on the pitch. He runs and runs and runs. But he needs a manager with a very strong personality that will limit his rule to what he's good at. Don't ask him to do stuff that he's not good at, like what Erik ten Hag does. He's a good player. I don't think he should be the captain, which is something I don't know if any other coach can actually strip him of captaincy. But I think Bruno Fernandes is a good player. And I think this notion that Man United needs to completely change every player and only keep these guys, they need to have like 7 new starters next season. I think Chelsea have tried that and it didn't work out.
Yeah, again, what you've got to remember is, though, Mo, again, is context. The article hasn't stated that we're going to sell every player. It's that nobody is particularly safe. We are not going to sell a whole squad in the summer and buy a whole new squad. It will be, and this is why when people say, "Do you want Bruno to continue next year?" Bruno is one of the very few players I'm not worried about year one in this rebuild. I don't think he's a toxic personality. Whatever the manager tells him to do, he does. Maybe he does need to go, but there's a lot of people that need to go before him. I think the conversation around Bruno Fernandes is slightly premature in my personal opinion. Stripping him of the captaincy. Let's see what the new manager and the new ownership make of the situation. You know, when Man United won a really good run, I know he wasn't the official captain last year, but when Maguire was out the team and he was wearing the armband and we were like 6 months and it was great, we got to a cup final and won it. Nobody in that 6-month period when Man United were doing well said he was a bad captain. So I sometimes feel like we over-egg certain things. Am I open to Bruno leaving? I've said I'm open for pretty much every player at the club to leave if the new ownership, if the new regime deems it necessary, and I'll advocate it if we then improve over a period of time. But do I think he needs to be one of the first out the door? No. So I'm not worried if he stays in the summer. And I think, you know, it's just something I don't think it's going to make or break our season next year is Bruno leaving the football club. I don't know what Dan makes of it all.
Do you think he could be someone, and you're right, I don't think he is. There are a lot of people that could leave, but I feel like if the price is right, and I feel like that's what that statement was saying, like if a good offer come in for Bruno, you're going to listen to it, right? He's sellable for the right price. He's not like one of these players that, no, we must have him. We must build our new projects around him. He is disposable for the right price. But I wonder that if he does stay, and I agree that Man United probably need a better leader to be the captain, is he the sort of player that is going to react poorly if the captaincy is taken from him? Is that going to be a sign of feeling unwanted, unloved? And he reacts badly that way.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, there's been no signs that he would do that in my eyes, personally, watching him on the pitch, but it could be. I also agree with what you've said around every player should be sellable at a certain point, everybody, because I mean, we hear it being said now, so it sounds a little harsh. Oh, the players are going to be off put by that. But that's how Pep works now. Every player at City is sellable. The right price and or at the right time. Under Fergie at Man United, every player was sellable at the right place, at the right price, or at the right time. because the club always has to move on. The biggest mistake I've seen Man United make in the back end of Fergie's career, and we stick with certain players too long. They get past their best. They get a bit older. They lose all their value. You look at the Wayne Rooney situation. He did okay for us after Fergie left until he went to Everton. But we should have probably cashed in on him a lot sooner and reinvested that money. I look at Bruno, and if he ends this season well, if he has a good season next year, there could be, if there's a person out there that you believe can replace him, someone that can replace the goals and the assists, which are quite high from him, could be a better leader, is better on the ball, and is younger. But look, Barcelona are willing to pay 80 million for him still, and he's 30 years old. You've got to look at that and say, well, do that deal, reinvest that money and improve the squad, because in 2 or 3 years' time, Bruno won't be the player that he is now, and he won't be worth any money. You've got to get that balance right and that timing correct. And that's where Man United have been poor. I read somewhere that in the last 5 or I'm going to get this. I need to go back and read it. But if you look at the players that were sold at Man United over the last 10 years, I think Angel Di Maria, we got quite a bit of money for. Lukaku. Dan James might even be our third highest sale, about 20 million. We sell our players far too late. Therefore, it's harder for us to reinvest that money. Our ability to sell at Man United has been exceedingly bad for the best part of a decade, where other clubs have generated hundreds of millions of pounds more than us in that time on player sales. And it's just, and we're still able to outspend people because we're such a big club with such great income. But imagine we sold correctly as well. Like, we'd have even more money to invest and keep things going. So, yeah, look, I'm not worried about the Bruno situation one little bit. Keep him going. I trust what we're doing at the club right now, and I'm excited about it. But
you're waiting. You're waiting to see if they fail. Like, you're expecting. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna run the club well. They're gonna make the right decisions. There is no reason for you to doubt them. We'll see. Like to be honest with you, it all depends on the new manager. It all depends on who they hire. But again, I'm like, for the Bruno thing, I think his time at Manchester is still, like, he's all right. He can stay with the right manager, with the right players around him, because I like Bruno Fernandes. I don't think he's trash as people make him be, to be honest. People just are very harsh. The whole team is not performing, and they just want to scapegoat the player that whines a lot and complain a lot and all of this. I think he's a good player. Should stay. I don't think you'll get money for him if you sell him. Not a lot of money that will be able to replace him with this quality. I don't think so. But a lot of people want to replace him, to be honest.
I think his statement is a bit indicative of the uncertainty around Man United going into the new season. There's a lot of, if they want me, we'll see after the Euros, and we'll see this. And obviously every player being up for sale, Bruno here and that, other players here and that. It's not exactly a glowing endorsement of yourself as a player. A lot of clubs will kind of go, no, we don't want to sell Bruno. He's a massive part of our plans. He's, important to the club. Sometimes you see clubs saying that, and secretly they are for sale. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's not a ringing endorsement for him, and his statement isn't exactly a ringing endorsement. It doesn't fill you with massive confidence that this is where I want to be. He sort of said it, but I'm not filled with confidence. All of this ifs and buts and maybes.
I think that's because the media briefing has been very clear that all players are essentially for sale at the right price as they look to rebuild. And I think that if Bruno was 23, 24, he'd be on the list of absolutely nots. But he isn't. He's getting towards. He's turning 30. His deal's got a couple of years left on it. You then look at you have to look at that, and you have to be smart. You don't want to commit to another 3, 4 or 5 year deal from this point to him. Equally, you don't want to turn down 70, 80, 90 million pound that could potentially be offered by somebody if you can reinvest. But at the same time, there has to be somebody as good in the market. And I know a lot of these detractors will say there are people that are as good as him. Everyone told me for years that James Madison was as good as him. Well, he's playing in a better system this year, in a better team this year, and the man scored 1 goal in 7 months. Like, don't ever come to me and tell me that James Madison looks better than Bruno Fernandes on the eye, but he can't lace Bruno Fernandes' boots in terms of his ability to deliver on a football pitch. So that's more what I'm concerned about, is replacing people who can. It's replacing people who essentially with individuals that can replace and improve their performances for the club, as opposed to passing the eye test. I don't really care about passing the eye test. Listen, if you get someone that can outperform Bruno and look better on the eye, fucking great. I'd love it, but I'm not really that bothered about that. We need players that can deliver. It's as simple as that for me. But in terms of what you said, Mo, do I trust? Listen, you saw the news. I know you put it in the group chat earlier about, you know, the CEO moving on. Blanc is now in until Barada does. And KJ tweeted about this yesterday, and I retweeted it. And it's really interesting looking at Man United fans' reaction to all this sort of news at the minute. There's a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, I don't get why we're doing this. This is all nonsense. I don't understand what Ineos are doing. And as KJ tweeted, he says, Sir Jim and Ineos showing that they are serious. United fans need to realize this is like nothing we've seen before, like since Fergie. And it's true. For the first time ever, there is genuine change. We are clearing out all the people. Some of them did great jobs in the Fergie era, not so good in the last decade. But we haven't done a good job in the last 10 years. And pretty much every member of senior management who runs a football club is moving out. And for me, that was the most important thing to address first. It was more important than the manager. It's more important than the players. It's the people that run the club. You get that correct, and then everything else grows out from there. It's a center-out approach from me. So far, so good as far as I'm concerned. Long way to go. Lots of trials and tribulations along the way. But yeah, as I say, I'm very excited.